Like I said, if you don't nail the kick on the first time, it's real probable that it's going to bite you. So here we go. I'm nervous. In the 1920s, American hill climb competition exploded onto the scene, quickly becoming one of the most popular American motorcycle sports, period. We're here at the Hill Climb exhibit right here in the back of the museum. Some of the rarest and most historic motorcycles anywhere are right here in the exhibit. National champions, prototypes, serial number ones, experimentals, one-offs, bikes literally ridden by the very best of the very best. It's week 3 of the Drive for History, and this week we're highlighting machines from the glory days of American motorcycle racing. Today, one of my favorite motorcycles in the entire building, the 1935 one-off 80 cubic inch factory hill climb job. Now, 1920s and 30s was a really unique era in professional motorcycle racing. Factories spent big resources to make really small, limited numbers of special machines, far different than anything they were offering for the road. The 1935 80 cubic inch job is exactly that. I'm going to highlight this motorcycle, kind of give you some of the specs, and then fire it up for you here momentarily. So now this machine's been in Wheels Through Time collection for about 30 years. My dad acquired this from a motorcycle collector by the name of Tony Panaccio. Again, one-of-a-kind motorcycle, not another machine like this in the entire world. Factory hill climb chassis, factory motor, factory tanks, bars. Every piece on this bike is designed for hill climbing and hill climbing only. Basically zero application on the street, but on the hill, these motorcycles were absolutely untouchable. Now, the 3 big classes in the 1920s and 30s for hill climbing: 45 cubic inch, 61 cubic inch, and 80 cubic inch. This machine made for the big class. It's an 80 cubic inch job based around Harley Davidson's VL series engine. So the VL, 1930 to 36, Harley produced a street model 74 cubic inch machine. That was the VL model. Now, factory racing version, highly modified, almost zero in common with a standard road model VL. So special cases designed for the front mount magneto. What you see down here down low, traditionally there'd be a big oil pump right here. Hill climbers, these machines are basically designed to run on no oil whatsoever. In fact, the way that they do a lot of these engines is they'd fire the machine up, get oil circulating throughout the engine, immediately shut it off, drain the residual out of the lower end, and then make the 20-30 second run up the hill with virtually zero oil in the bottom end. Remember, they didn't have to run long, they just had to be fast. So 80 cubic inch job, special aluminum heads from a slightly later year. Now these cylinders have been all worked over. I gotta tell you, I have never in my life heard a flathead Harley Davidson sound like this. We're going to get to that in just a second. I guarantee you guys are going to be wowed. Now, the chassis on this, again, all special components. Starts right here with the frame. This is what we call a spaghetti frame hill climber. Traditionally at this time, Harley Davidson was just coming off of the JD type of platform, single down tube, really primitive setup. This is what we call the spaghetti frame. Spaghetti frame gets its name from the double down tube, double backbone, double seat post. So everything was twice as strong as it needed to be. Every casting, every forging on this frame is special for hill climbing and hill climbing only. Back here on the axle dropouts, you can actually see the experimental casting numbers. Now it's upside down. It says EX1005. So there's actually a catalog of experimental numbers where we could date the exact, probably down to the month when this axle casting was designed by Harley Davidson. So special tiny little gas tanks. These probably hold just over a gallon of fuel. Remember, a lot of these bikes are meant to run on alcohol. So believe it or not, 1-2 runs up the hill, they'd actually burn through a considerable amount of what's in the tank. Other side is oil. Single speed transmission. One of the rarest components on this motorcycle is the transmission. Now, Harley Davidson on their road models at this time, 3-speed crash box sliding gear transmission. The hill climb factory hill climb transmission, the only thing in common was the kicker cover. So the kicker cover just bolts on the side of the case. Now this is an all special case, 1 speed, there's no counter shaft. It's literally a main drive gear and a main shaft. You've got your gear indicator right here, which locks you into gear or locks you out of gear. So incredibly, incredibly rare transmission there. That was probably designed in 1932 or 33 by Harley Davidson. Ultra cool piece. Sits on the big spider web casting right here in the frame. So again, double down tube frame cradled that motor in there. It was about as tough as nails, and really allowed the engines they were producing considerably more horsepower, allowed for a more stable ride. So special factory Hillclimb front end. This is what we call a DAH front end, and really the chassis is very much like Harley Davidson's 45 cubic inch overhead job in 1932 and 33. Now this machine wasn't produced until 34 or 35. This bike was actually designed for West Coast competition. It was raced by a fella named Joe Erb. Actually upstairs in the file we've got some great photos of Joe Hillclimb in this machine. So really special stuff. It's been in the Wheels Through Time collection for about 30 years. It's one of the machines that we fire very rarely for visitors. Every time we fire the machine, it makes me incredibly nervous. It's the type of bike where if you don't kick it right, it's going to bite you. And I'm not going to lie, I've been bit a couple times. So we're going to get up on the hill, prime the thing. We've got fuel and oil already in it, and hopefully it's just a couple kicks to get it going. Now, high compression. Traditionally, your flatheads of this era, 6-to-1, 7-to-1. There's really no telling what sort of compression's in this motor. We'd have to take it apart to see, but it is as high of a compression flathead as I've ever dealt with. Like I said, if you don't nail the kick on the first time, it's real probable that it's going to bite you. So it's got the linker barrel style carburetor over here, provides a totally wide open throat. Again, single speed, rear brake only, and all special components. So guys, it's one of the most special machines here at the museum. We're going to fire it up for you here right now. So we'll turn the gas on. The bike has not been run in a couple days. This is the linkered barrel style carburetor, as I said. Totally wide open throat. So one of the things about the barrel is there's no throttle plate obstruction. It actually allows considerably more airflow through the carburetor and into the head. So we're going to go ahead and prime it with one kick, and then hopefully she fires on the second kick, guys. Whew, there's one. And here we go. Oh, I'm nervous. Oh man, you can hear that thing backfiring. Incredible. One more to go. Nope, maybe two. Oh yeah. Ah, what a motorcycle. Ah, I just get chills hearing it, guys. This thing does not even want to idle. You could hear me kind of keeping the RPMs up. Instantaneous throttle response, which is really non-characteristic of a Harley-Davidson flathead. Really traditionally deliberate, kind of a lazy rev on the Harley flatties. This thing as quick as you can twist that wrist, it's right there, just making incredible power. And remember, we're running on gasoline, so this thing probably designed to run on alcohol with the compression that it's running. Of course, timing's been modified to run on the gas that we are running, but you can only imagine what this thing would do facing the top of a 500-foot hill, burning a throat full of alcohol. So incredibly awesome machine. 1935 factory one-off 80 cubic inch Hillclimber. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to be bringing you more racing machines this week on the Drive for History. Thanks for tuning in. Check out wheelsthroughtime.com. Make sure you support the museum today. We wouldn't be able to do any of this without you guys. Thanks for keeping us the museum that runs.